When 17-year-old Xavier Musk walked into Principal Chen's office that Tuesday morning, no one could have predicted what would happen next. By the end of the day, his story would be trending worldwide. News crews would surround his school. His father would be racing across Los Angeles in a panic. What could the son of the world's richest man have possibly done to get suspended? The answer isn't what you think. Xavier didn't get in a fight. He didn't cheat on a test. He didn't vandalize school property or break any typical teenage rules. What Xavier did was far more shocking than any ordinary rebellion. In secret, over the course of 3 months, he had been systematically giving away his family's money. Not just his allowance or birthday cash, but millions of dollars from his trust fund and Tesla stock. Money that was meant for his future. Money that legally belonged to him, but morally belonged to his family's legacy. By the time Principal Chen discovered what he had done, Xavier had already donated $2.8 million to homeless shelters, food banks, and struggling families. He had helped hundreds of people without telling a single adult. And he wasn't finished. The phone call that would change everything was about to be made. Within hours, the Musk family would face their biggest crisis ever. Xavier would have to defend his choices to the world. And a 17-year-old's impulsive act of generosity would spark a global movement that no one saw coming. This is the story of what happened when a privileged teenager couldn't stand watching people suffer while he had everything. It's about the shocking lengths one young person went to in order to help others. And it's about what happens when doing the right thing in the wrong way creates consequences no one could have imagined. The call that changed everything was about to begin. Xavier Musk stared at his sneakers. The expensive leather chairs in Principal Chen's office felt cold against his back. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Outside the door, he could hear whispers. Students walking by the office slowed down. They wanted to know what happened. They wanted to know why Elon Musk's son was sitting there looking scared. Xavier closed his eyes. This morning felt like a million years ago. He had woken up in his bedroom at the family's house in Bel Air. The morning sun came through his windows. Los Angeles stretched out below like a golden blanket. Everything looked perfect from up there, but Xavier didn't feel perfect. He felt sick to his stomach. On his phone, he saw the news. His father was trending on Twitter again. People were arguing about something Elon said. Some people loved him. Some people hated him. Xavier was tired of both. At breakfast, his twin brother Griffin talked about a math test. Their mom asked about homework. Everything seemed normal, but Xavier's backpack felt heavy. Not because of books, because of what he planned to do today. "You okay?" Griffin asked. "You look weird." "I'm fine," Xavier lied. The drive to Crossroads School took 20 minutes. Xavier looked out the window at the homeless camps under the freeway bridges. Then, he looked at the fancy coffee shops in Santa Monica. Rich and poor side by side. It made his chest hurt. Crossroads School cost $50,000 a year. The buildings were beautiful. The teachers were smart. Famous people's kids went there. Tech billionaires' kids, too. Everyone seemed to have everything they needed. But Xavier knew that wasn't true. In first period, Mrs. Rodriguez taught about climate change. "The poorest people suffer first," she said. "Rich countries cause the problem. Poor countries pay the price." Xavier thought about his father's mission to save the planet. Electric cars, solar panels, rockets to Mars, all good things. But what about the people who couldn't afford any of it? At lunch, Xavier sat with his friend Marcus. Marcus's dad worked as a janitor at a tech company. Marcus brought the same sandwich every day. Peanut butter on white bread. No chips, no drink from the vending machine. My dad's hours got cut again, Marcus said quietly. Mom's looking for a second job. Xavier felt the weight in his backpack again. Today was the day. He had to do it. Your dad could fix everything, Marcus continued. He has more money than some whole countries. Xavier didn't know what to say. It was true. His father was one of the richest people in the world. But Marcus's family might lose their apartment next month. After lunch, Xavier walked to the bathroom. He locked the door and took out his phone. His hands shook as he dialed the first number. Channel 7 News? I have a story for you. Then he called Channel 4. Then Channel 11. Each time, his voice got stronger. It's about Elon Musk's. Son, something big is happening at Crossroads School today. You need to get here by 12:30. Third period was English class. They were reading The Grapes of Wrath. The story was about poor families during the Great Depression. Families who lost everything while rich people stayed rich. Why didn't anyone help them? Asked Sophia, a girl who sat behind Xavier. Her mom cleaned houses. Sophia wore the same 3 outfits every week. Some people tried, said Ms. Garcia. But not enough people with power cared enough to make real changes. Xavier thought about power. He had power because of his last name, because of his father's money. What was he supposed to do with that power? At 12:15, Xavier saw the OTV, first news van, pull into the school parking lot. His heart started beating fast. There was no going back now. Principal Chen noticed the news vans too. She came out of her office looking confused. Xavier? Can you come here, please? Xavier walked slowly to her office. Each step felt huge. Xavier, there are news crews outside. Do you know anything about this? Xavier looked at Principal Chen. She was nice. She cared about the students. But she was about to be very upset with him. Yes, he said. I called them. You what? I called them. I have something important to say. Something the whole world needs to hear. Principal Chen sat down hard in her chair. Xavier, what have you done? Xavier looked out the window. More news vans were arriving. Reporters were setting up cameras. Students were gathering to watch. I've been giving money away, Xavier said quietly. A lot of money. Money that wasn't really mine to give. Principal Chen's face went white. How much money? Enough to get suspended. Enough to make my dad really angry. Enough to help people who needed it. Xavier, I have to call your father right now. I know. Principal Chen picked up her phone. Her hands were shaking too now. Mr. Musk, this is Dr. Sarah Chen at Crossroads School. We need you to come here immediately. Xavier has been suspended. Xavier could hear his father's voice through the phone. Loud, worried, angry. What did he do? Elon asked. Principal Chen looked at Xavier. Xavier looked back at her. Outside, more news crews were arriving. Students were pointing at the office, windows. I think it's better if we discuss this in person, Principal Chen said carefully. Is he hurt? Is anyone hurt? No one is hurt, Mr. Musk. But this is a very serious matter, something that could affect other students. You need to get here as soon as possible. Xavier heard his father say something about being in the middle of a rocket test, but then he heard car keys jingling. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Elon said. Principal Chen hung up. She stared at Xavier for a long moment. Whatever you've done, she said, I hope you understand. There will be consequences. Xavier nodded. He understood. But as he looked out at the growing crowd of reporters, He also knew that some things were more important than staying out of trouble. The clock on the wall said 12:28. In 2 minutes, he would walk outside and change everything, forever. Xavier took a deep breath and stood up from the chair. Principal Chen watched him with worried eyes. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To talk to the reporters. That's why I called them." "Xavier, sit down. You're not going anywhere until your father gets here." But Xavier was already walking toward the door. "I'm sorry, Dr. Chen, but I started this. I have to finish it." He opened the office door and stepped into the hallway. Students stopped talking when they saw him. Some pointed, others whispered behind their hands. Xavier had walked these same halls for 3 years, but today felt different. Today, everyone was staring. He thought back to his first day at Crossroads School. He was 14 then. His father had just bought Twitter, and everyone had opinions about it. Kids either wanted to be his friend because of his dad's fame, or they avoided him because of it. "Just be yourself," his mom had said that morning. But Xavier wasn't sure who that was anymore. 3 months ago, everything started to change. It was the beginning of junior year. Ms. Rodriguez gave them a project about climate change. "Pick something that matters to you," she had said. "Something you really care about." Xavier went home that night thinking about what mattered to him. His father always talked about saving humanity. Electric cars to stop pollution. Solar panels for clean energy. Rockets to make humans a space-traveling species. But Xavier kept thinking about the kids at school who brought the same lunch every day. Kids who wore old clothes. Kids who seemed tired all the time. He started paying more attention, really looking around. Marcus Chen lived 20 minutes away from Xavier's mansion. But Marcus's neighborhood looked like a different world. Small apartments, broken sidewalks, no swimming pools or tennis courts. "My dad works 3 jobs," Marcus told him one day. "He cleans offices at night. He delivers food on weekends. He still can't pay all our bills." Sofia Rodriguez lived with her mom and 2 little brothers. Her mom cleaned houses for rich families in Beverly Hills. Sofia took care of her brothers after school while her mom worked. "I'm saving up to buy my brothers new shoes," Sofia said. "Their feet are getting too big for their old ones." Xavier looked down at his own shoes. They cost more than Sofia's mom made in a week. At lunch one day, Xavier counted 23 kids who didn't buy food from the cafeteria. They brought lunch from home, or didn't eat at all. The school lunch cost $12. For some families, that was too much. Xavier's weekly allowance was $500. He started researching income inequality for his climate project. The numbers shocked him. The richest 1% of Americans owned more wealth than the bottom 50% combined. His father was in that 1%. Way in that 1%. Xavier found articles about CEO pay compared to worker pay. Tesla workers made about $50,000 a year. His father made millions. Billions, actually. "It's not fair," he told his twin brother Griffin one night. "What's not fair?" "Everything. We have so much. Other people have so little." Griffin shrugged. "Dad earned his money. He works really hard. But so do other people. Marcus's dad works 3 jobs. He works harder than anyone I know. That's different." Why is it different? Griffin didn't have an answer. Xavier couldn't stop thinking about it. He researched more. He learned about homeless families in Los Angeles. Kids who slept in cars. Kids who didn't have enough to eat. He drove through downtown LA with his mom one day. Tent cities stretched for blocks under freeway overpasses. Thousands of people with nowhere else to go. "Why don't we help them?" Xavier asked. "We do help," his mom said. "Dad gives money to charities, but not enough." His mom was quiet for a moment. "What do you think would be enough?" Xavier didn't know, but he knew it was more than they were doing. That weekend, Xavier visited the Tesla factory in Fremont with his father. They walked through the building where thousands of workers built cars. His father talked about changing the world, about making transportation sustainable. Xavier watched the workers. They moved fast. They looked tired. They were building cars that cost more than they made in a year. "Dad," Xavier said, "do you know the workers' names?" "Some of them." "Why? Do you know about their families? Their problems?" Elon looked at his son strangely. "I try to take care of all our employees, Xavier." "How?" "Good wages, good benefits, stock options. Is it enough?" "What do you mean?" Xavier pointed to a worker installing seats. "Can he afford to buy one of these cars?" "That's not the point, isn't it?" They drove home in silence. But Xavier's mind was racing. An idea was forming. A crazy, risky idea. That night, he started researching how trust funds worked, how stock sales worked, how donations worked. He found out he had access to some of his trust fund money when he turned 17. He had turned 17 2 months ago. He also found out he owned Tesla stock. Gifts from birthdays and holidays over the years. Stock that was worth a lot of money now. Xavier started making lists. Lists of kids at school who needed help. Lists of charities in Los Angeles. Lists of families who were struggling. "What are you working on?" Griffin asked one night. "A project." "For school?" Xavier looked at his brother. Griffin was his twin, but they were so different. Griffin didn't seem to worry about anything. Griffin was happy just being Elon Musk's son. "Something like that," Xavier said. But it wasn't for school. It was for something bigger. Something that scared him and excited him at the same time. He knew his father would be angry. He knew there would be consequences. But Xavier also knew he couldn't keep living with so much, while others had so little. 2 weeks ago, he started, putting his plan into action. He contacted his trust fund manager. He called his father's financial advisor. He pretended to be working on a school project about investing. He learned how to sell stock, how to transfer money, how to make donations. And then he started doing it. $500 to help Marcus's family pay rent. $1,000 to buy Sophia's brother's new shoes and clothes. $10,000 to the Downtown Women's Center. It felt good. Better than anything had felt in his whole life. But it wasn't enough. Xavier kept thinking bigger. $25,000 to food banks across LA. $50,000 to help homeless families find housing. $100,000 to pay medical bills for families who couldn't afford them. The amounts got bigger. Xavier's plan got bolder. And now, standing in the hallway at Crossroads School with news crews waiting outside, Xavier knew there was no going back. He walked toward the front doors of the school. Behind him, he heard Principal Chen calling his name. Ahead of him, he could see the cameras and microphones waiting. His phone buzzed. A text from Griffin. "Dad's car just pulled up. Whatever you're doing, stop." But Xavier couldn't stop. Not now. Too many people were counting on him. He pushed open the doors and stepped outside into the bright California sunshine. The reporters saw him immediately. "That's him," someone whispered. "That's Elon Musk's kid." Xavier walked toward the microphones. His legs felt shaky. His mouth felt dry. But his voice, when he spoke, was clear and strong. "My name is Xavier Musk," he said, and I have something to tell you about what I've been doing with my father's money." The reporters leaned forward. Camera lights turned on. Xavier could feel his heart beating so fast it might jump out of his chest. But before he could say another word, he heard a car door slam behind him. "Xavier!" His father's voice cut through the noise like a knife. Elon Musk was walking fast across the parking lot. His face was red. His hands were clenched into fists. "Step away from those cameras. Now!" Xavier looked at his father. Then he looked at the reporters. Then he looked at the students watching from the school windows. He thought about Marcus, who might lose his home next month. He thought about Sophia, who took care of her little brothers while her mom worked 3 jobs. He thought about all the families he had already helped with the money he gave away. "I'm sorry, Dad," Xavier said quietly. "But people need to hear this." Before Elon could reach him, Xavier ran back into the school building. The reporters shouted questions behind him, but he kept running. He needed time to think. Time to remember why he started this whole thing. Xavier found an empty classroom and sat down at a desk. Through the window, he could see his father talking to the reporters. Elon looked angry and confused and worried all at the same time. Xavier closed his eyes and thought back to the night when his plan really began. It was 3 weeks ago. He couldn't sleep. Outside his bedroom window, the lights of Los Angeles stretched out like stars. From his house in the hills, the city looked beautiful. But Xavier knew the truth was more complicated. He had been thinking about his climate change project all day. Ms. Rodriguez said to pick something that mattered to him. Everyone expected him to write about electric cars or solar panels. Something about his father's companies. But Xavier kept thinking about something else. He kept thinking about fairness. The next day at school, he decided to really listen to his classmates. Not just his friends, but everyone. During lunch, he sat at different tables. He heard kids talking about things he never thought about before. "My mom works at 3 different stores," said a girl named Emma. "She's never home for dinner anymore." "We might have to move again," said a boy named Carlos. "Our rent went up and my dad can't find a better job." "I haven't been to the doctor in 2 years," said another girl named Amy. "We can't afford it." These kids went to the same expensive school as Xavier, but their families were struggling just to pay for basic things. That afternoon, Xavier walked through downtown Los Angeles with his driver. He asked the driver to take a different route home. They drove past tent cities under freeway bridges, past long lines at food banks, past families living in their cars. "Stop the car," Xavier said. "Mr. Xavier, your father said to take you straight home. Just for a minute, please." The driver pulled over. Xavier got out and walked toward a small park where dozens of people had set up tents. Families with children. Old people with nowhere else to go. A woman was trying to feed a baby with a bottle. She looked tired and scared. "Excuse me," Xavier said carefully. "Are you okay?" The woman looked at him suspiciously. Xavier was wearing expensive clothes and shoes. He probably looked like someone who would call the police on homeless people. "We're fine," she said. "I'm sorry. Is there anything you need?" "Why do you care?" Xavier didn't know how to answer that. "Because you're a person. Because that baby deserves to have enough food." The woman's expression softened a little. "Food costs money. Money costs a job. Jobs are hard to find when you don't have an address." Xavier nodded. "What if someone gave you money? Would that help?" "People don't just give away money, kid." But Xavier was already thinking, what if they did? That night, Xavier couldn't eat dinner. His family's dining room table was covered with food. More food than 5 people could eat. While just 20 minutes away, Families were hungry. "You're quiet tonight," his mom said, "just thinking about school stuff." After dinner, Xavier went to his room and started researching. He looked up how many homeless people lived in Los Angeles. The number was shocking. Over 60,000 people. Looked up how many kids in LA went to bed hungry every night. More shocking numbers. He looked up how much money it would take to feed one family for a month, for a year. Then he looked up how much money his family had. The contrast made him feel sick. Xavier started making lists in a notebook. Lists of problems. Lists of people who needed help. Lists of ways to help them. He researched his trust fund. Money that was set aside for his future. For college and buying a house and starting a business someday. He calculated how much he would need for those things. Then he calculated how much would be left over. A lot would be left over. Xavier also found out about the Tesla stock he owned, stock that was given to him as gifts over the years, stock that was worth much more now than when he got it. He researched how to sell stock, how to transfer money, how to make donations without his parents knowing about it. It was complicated, but not impossible. The hardest part was keeping it secret from Griffin. His twin brother knew him better than anyone. Griffin would ask questions if Xavier started acting strange. "What are you working on every night?" Griffin asked one evening. "History project." "About what?" "The Great Depression. How rich people stayed rich, while poor people lost everything." Griffin made a face. "Sounds boring." "It's not boring. It's important." "Why is it important?" Xavier looked at his brother. Griffin was smart and funny and kind. But Griffin had never worried about money, never worried about having enough food or a place to sleep. "Because it's still happening," Xavier said. "What's still happening?" "Rich people staying rich. Poor people losing everything." Griffin shrugged. "That's just how the world works." "What if it doesn't have to be?" But Griffin was already looking at his phone. He didn't want to talk about serious things. Xavier decided not to tell Griffin about his plan. He would tell him later, after it was done. 2 weeks ago, Xavier started putting his plan into action. He called his trust fund manager and pretended to be working on a school project about investing. "I need to understand how my trust fund works," he said. For a report, the manager explained everything: how much money was in the account, how much Xavier could access now that he was 17, how to make withdrawals. Xavier learned he could take out money for educational purposes. He decided that helping people was educational. He also learned about his Tesla stock, 12 shares that were worth over $2,000 each now. Xavier started small. He gave $500 to help Marcus's family pay rent. He told Marcus it was from a charity fund at school. Then he gave $1,000 to buy clothes for Sophia's little brothers. He told Sophia's mom the money came from an anonymous donor. Each time he helped someone, Xavier felt better than he had ever felt in his life, but it also felt like a tiny drop in a huge ocean of need. Xavier started thinking bigger, much bigger. He researched charities in Los Angeles, food banks, homeless shelters, organizations that helped families pay medical bills. He made phone calls, pretending to be doing research for school. He learned which organizations were legitimate, which ones really helped people. And then he started making bigger donations. $10,000 to the Los Angeles Food Bank, $15,000 to the Downtown Women's Center, $25,000 to an organization that helped families avoid eviction. With each donation, Xavier felt like he was doing something that mattered, something real. But he also knew he was breaking rules. Big rules. Xavier was sitting in the empty classroom, remembering all of this, when the door opened. Principal Chen walked in with his father, right behind her. "There you are," Elon said. His voice was quieter now, but still angry. "We need to talk." Xavier stood up slowly. "I know you're mad." "Mad doesn't begin to cover it. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Xavier looked at his father. "I've helped people." "You've stolen money." "I gave it away." "It wasn't yours to give away." "Wasn't it?" Elon stopped talking. He stared at his son for a long moment. "How much?" "Xavier? How much money did you take?" Xavier took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been both dreading and waiting for. $500,000 from my trust fund, he said quietly. "And I sold all my Tesla stock." Principal Chen gasped. Elon's face went completely white. "How much was the stock worth?" Elon asked in a whisper. Xavier met his father's eyes. $2.3 million. The room fell completely silent. Outside, Xavier could hear the reporters still shouting questions. But inside the classroom, nobody said anything for a long time. Finally, Elon spoke. "Xavier," he said slowly, "do you understand what you've just told me?" "Yes." "You gave away almost $3 million. "Yes." "Without permission." "Yes." "Money that was meant for your future. I used it to help other people's futures." Elon sat down heavily in a chair. He put his head in his hands. "This isn't just about money, Xavier. This is about trust. This is about following rules. This is about doing what's right," Xavier interrupted. His father looked up at him. "And you think what you did was right?" Xavier thought about Marcus's family, who wouldn't lose their apartment now, about Sophia's brothers, who had warm clothes for winter, about the hundreds of families who had food because of the money he donated. "Yes," he said firmly. "I think it was right." Outside, a news helicopter circled overhead. The story was getting bigger by the minute, and Xavier knew that the hardest part was still coming. Elon stood up from the chair and walked to the window. Outside, more news vans were arriving. Reporters set up cameras on the school lawn. Students pressed their faces against classroom windows to watch. "They're not going away," he said quietly. Xavier joined his father at the window. The crowd had doubled in the last 10 minutes. He could see reporters from all the major TV stations. Some he recognized from watching the news with his family. "This is what you wanted?" Elon asked. "I wanted to help people, the reporters. That just happened." "Nothing just happens when your last name is Musk." Principal Chen cleared her throat. "Mr. Musk, I think we need to discuss Xavier's future at this school." Both Xavier and his father turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" Elon asked. Xavier used school computers to manage financial transactions. He made phone calls during class time to coordinate donations. He violated our technology policies and our attendance policies. Xavier felt his stomach drop. He hadn't thought about getting kicked out of school. "You're expelling him?" Elon asked. "I'm considering it. This kind of behavior is exactly the kind of behavior we should be encouraging," said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned. Ms. Rodriguez stood in the entrance to the classroom. Her arms were crossed, but she was smiling. "Ms. Rodriguez," Principal Chen said sharply, "this is a private meeting." "I know, but I couldn't help overhearing, and I had to say something." Ms. Rodriguez walked into the room. 3 months ago, I gave my students a project about climate change. I told them to pick something that mattered to them. She looked at Xavier. Most students wrote about solar panels or electric cars, safe topics, easy topics. "What did Xavier write about?" Elon asked. "Inequality." He wrote about how climate change hurts poor people first and worst. He wrote about how the people who cause the least damage suffer the most consequences. Xavier remembered that paper. He had worked on it for weeks. It was the first time he really understood how everything connected. But that's not what impressed me, Ms. Rodriguez continued. What impressed me was that Xavier didn't just write about the problem. He started trying to solve it. Principal Chen frowned. By stealing money? By sharing wealth, Ms. Rodriguez corrected. There's a difference. The room fell quiet again. Outside, Xavier could hear reporters shouting questions at students walking by. Elon looked at his son. Xavier, I need to understand something. Why didn't you talk to me first? Would you have listened? Of course I would have listened. Really? Or would you have given me a lecture about being responsible with money? Elon opened his mouth to answer, then closed it again. You're always busy, Xavier continued. Always working on saving humanity? But what about helping the humans who are here right now? Everything I do is about helping humans. Is it? Or is it about building cool things that make you famous? The words came out harder than Xavier meant them to. His father's face changed. You think I do this for fame? I think you do it because you're good at it, and because people tell you you're a genius. But Dad, there are kids at this school who don't have enough to eat. There are families living in their cars 20 minutes from our house. And we could fix that tomorrow if we wanted to. It's not that simple. Why isn't it? Elon ran his hands through his hair. Because you can't just throw money at problems and make them go away. But you can help people while you figure out the bigger solutions. Ms. Rodriguez stepped forward. If I may, Mr. Musk, your son's research was quite thorough. He didn't just throw money around randomly. He identified specific needs and found legitimate organizations to address them. How do you know that? Principal Chen asked. Because he asked me for help researching charities. He wanted to make sure the money would really help people. Xavier looked at Ms. Rodriguez gratefully. He had forgotten about those conversations. Xavier came to me 6 weeks ago, she continued. He said he wanted to do extra credit work about poverty in Los Angeles. He spent hours researching which organizations were most effective. You knew he was planning this? Elon asked. I knew he was passionate about helping people. I didn't know he had access to this much money. Elon turned back to Xavier. How did you even get access to your trust fund? I called the bank. I told them I needed money for educational purposes. And they just gave it to you? I'm 17. I'm legally allowed to access part of it. For education. Not for giving it away to strangers. Learning how to help people is education. Principal Chen shook her head. This is all very noble, but Xavier still broke school rules. He used our computers for personal business. He made unauthorized phone calls during class time. What if we made it authorized? Ms. Rodriguez suggested. Everyone looked at her. What? If we turned this into an official school project? Xavier has started something important here. Other students are already asking how they can help. Other students? Xavier asked. Sophia Rodriguez wants to volunteer at the food bank Xavier supported. Marcus Chen is organizing a clothing drive. Emma Walsh is starting a tutoring program for kids whose families can't afford help with homework. Xavier felt his eyes getting watery. His classmates wanted to help too. This could be a learning opportunity for the whole school, Ms. Rodriguez continued. A real-world civics project. Principal Chen looked uncertain. The school board would never approve. The school board loves good publicity, Ms. Rodriguez interrupted. And this is the best publicity we could ask for. Through the window, Xavier could see that the crowd of reporters had grown even larger. News helicopters circled overhead. Cars were backed up on the street as people slowed down to see what was happening. "They're waiting for an answer," Elon said quietly. "What answer?" Xavier asked. "They want to know what I'm going to do about this, whether I'm proud of you or angry at you, whether you're in trouble or getting rewarded. What are you going to do?" Elon was quiet for a long moment. He stared out at the reporters and cameras and helicopters. "I'm going to do something I probably should have done a long time ago," he said finally. "What's that?" "I'm going to listen to my son." Xavier's heart jumped. "Really? Really? But first, we're going to go out there together and face those reporters. Are you ready for that?" Xavier looked out at the crowd. It was much bigger now than when he first called the news stations. This wasn't just local news anymore. He could see satellite trucks from national networks. "What are we going to tell them?" "The truth. That my son saw problems I was too busy to notice. That he took action when he could have just complained. That he reminded me what it really means to help people." "Are you still angry?" "Yes. You should have talked to me first. You broke rules and laws and probably gave your mother a heart attack." Xavier winced. He hadn't thought about how his mom would react. "But," Elon continued, "I'm also proud of you. Scared and confused and proud." Principal Chen stepped forward. "What about his suspension? What about turning it into an independent study project?" Ms. Rodriguez suggested. "Let Xavier work with local charities for the next month. Let him learn how to really make a difference. And let other students join if they want to," Xavier added hopefully. Principal Chen looked at all of them. Then she looked out at the news crews waiting for answers. "This is the craziest thing that's ever happened at this school," she said. "Is that a yes?" Xavier asked. "That's a, let's go talk to those reporters before they tear up our lawn." Elon put his hand on Xavier's shoulder. "Ready?" Xavier took a deep breath. In a few minutes, he would tell the whole world what he had done. There would be people who thought he was stupid, people who thought he was brave, people who thought he was just a spoiled rich kid looking for attention. But there would also be families who had food tonight because of him, kids who had warm clothes because of him, people who still had homes because of him. "I'm ready," he said. They walked toward the door together, father and son, about to face the biggest moment of both their lives. Outside, the reporters saw them, coming, and started shouting questions all at once. The cameras turned on. The microphones pointed toward them, and Xavier Musk, 17 years old, and scared but determined, stepped into the bright California sunshine to tell the world why he gave away almost $3 million. The noise hit Xavier like a wave. 20 reporters shouted questions at the same time. Camera flashes went off like lightning. Microphones pointed at him from every direction. "Xavier, why did you give away the money? Elon, are you angry at your son? Is this a publicity stunt? How much money did you really give away?" Xavier's legs felt shaky. His mouth was dry. This was so much bigger than he had imagined when he made those phone calls this morning. Elon stepped closer to the microphones. He raised his hand for quiet. Slowly, the crowd settled down. "My son has something to say," Elon announced. "Please let him speak." Xavier looked out at all the faces staring at him. Reporters with notepads ready. Camera operators with huge cameras on their shoulders. Students watching from the school windows behind him. He thought about Marcus, who might lose his apartment next month. He thought about Sophia, taking care of her little brothers while her mom worked 3 jobs. He thought about the families living in tents under freeway bridges. "My name is Xavier Musk," he began. His voice was quiet at first, but it got stronger as he talked. 3 months ago, my teacher gave us a project about climate change. She told us to pick something that really mattered to us. The reporters leaned forward, listening carefully. Most kids wrote about solar panels or electric cars, but I kept thinking about something else. I kept thinking about fairness. A reporter from Channel 7 raised her hand. "What do you mean by fairness?" "I mean that some people have everything they need, and other people have nothing. Even at my school, which costs $50,000 a year, kids go hungry. Kids wear the same clothes every day because their families can't afford new ones." Xavier could see some of his classmates nodding in the windows behind the reporters. I started researching inequality in America. The numbers shocked me. The richest 1% of people own more wealth than the bottom 50% combined. "And your family is in that 1%, called out a reporter from CNN. "Yes, way in that 1%. And I realized that I could either complain about the problem or I could try to do something about it. Another reporter shouted, "So you decided to steal money?" "I didn't steal anything," Xavier said firmly. "I used money that belonged to me, money from my trust fund and Tesla stock that was given to me as gifts." "How much money?" asked a woman from Fox News. Xavier took a deep breath. $500,000 from my trust fund. And I sold Tesla stock worth $2.3 million dollars. Gasps came from the crowd. Some reporters started typing frantically on their phones. "That's almost $3 million, said the CNN reporter. "Yes." "And you gave it all away?" "Yes." "To who?" Xavier pulled out a folder from his backpack. That same folder he had shown his father and Principal Chen. I documented everything, every donation, every family that was helped. He opened the folder and started reading. $250,000 to food banks across Los Angeles. $150,000 to homeless shelters. $100,000 to help families pay medical bills they couldn't afford. With each amount, the crowd got quieter. $50,000 to help families avoid eviction. $25,000 to buy school supplies for kids whose families couldn't afford them. $15,000 to pay for prescription medications. Xavier could see some reporters wiping their eyes. The rest went to individual families. Kids at my school, whose parents lost their jobs. Families living in their cars. People who just needed help getting back on their feet. A reporter from ABC raised her hand. "Did your father know about any of this?" Xavier looked at Elon, who nodded. Encouragingly, "No, he didn't know. And I knew he would be upset when he found out." "Why didn't you tell him?" "Because I was afraid he would say no, or that he would want to think about it for a long time while people were suffering right now." "Are you upset with your son?" a reporter asked Elon directly. Elon stepped closer to the microphones. "I'm upset that he didn't talk to me first. I'm upset that he broke rules and probably laws. I'm upset that he put himself in danger by handling this much money without adult supervision." Xavier's heart sank. His father was going to be angry in front of the whole world. "But," Elon continued, "I'm also proud of him." Xavier looked up in to surprise. "My son saw problems that I was too busy to notice. He took action when he could have just complained. He used his privilege to help people who didn't have the same advantages." "So you support what he did?" asked the Fox News reporter. "I support his heart, his desire to help people. I don't support his methods. We're going to have to work together to fix the legal and financial mess he's created." A reporter from the Los Angeles Times raised her hand. "Xavier, What do you say to people who think you're just a spoiled rich kid looking for attention? Xavier thought about that question. He had known people would say that. I say that if I wanted attention, there are easier ways to get it. I could have posted something on social media. I could have done something crazy, but harmless. So why did you do this? Because attention doesn't feed hungry families. Attention doesn't pay rent for people who are about to lose their homes. Money does. But it wasn't your money to give away, called out another reporter. Wasn't it? I'm 17 years old. I have access to my trust fund. I owned that Tesla stock. Legally, it was mine. But morally? Pressed the reporter. Xavier was quiet for a moment. Morally, I think it belongs to whoever needs it most. A new voice called out from the back of the crowd. What about your future? That money was for your education, your first house, starting a business. I'll still go to college. I'll still have a place to live. I'll still have opportunities that most people never get. Xavier gestured toward the school behind him. But Sofia Rodriguez's little brothers needed winter coats. Marcus Chen's family needed help paying rent. Mrs. Santos needed money for her daughter's heart surgery. You know these people personally? Asked the Channel 7 reporter. Some of them. Others I found through researching charities and organizations. And you just gave them money? No questions asked? I asked questions. I made sure the organizations were legitimate. I made sure the families really needed help. But I didn't make them jump through hoops or prove they deserved it. The crowd was completely quiet now. Even the helicopters overhead seemed to be circling more quietly. What happens next? Asked a reporter from NBC. Xavier looked at his father. Elon nodded. We're going to work together to set up proper systems for this kind of giving. We're going to create opportunities for other young people to get involved. And we're going to keep helping families who need it. Is your father going to match your donations? Elon stepped forward. The Musk Foundation will match every dollar Xavier donated. That's $2.8 million going to the same causes he supported. The crowd erupted with new questions and camera flashes. Furthermore, Elon continued, raising his voice over the noise, we're establishing the Young Equity Project as an official program. Xavier will work with our foundation team to create sustainable, long-term solutions. What does that mean? Shouted a reporter. It means we're not just giving money away randomly, Xavier answered. We're going to study what works. We're going to partner with schools and communities. We're going to teach other kids how to use their advantages to help people. A reporter from the back called out, What message do you have for other young people who want to make a difference? Xavier thought about his classmates watching from the school windows. He thought about kids across the country who might be watching this on TV. Don't wait for permission to care about people. If you see someone who needs help and you have the ability to help them, do it. Even if it gets you in trouble? Sometimes doing the right thing gets you in trouble. But that doesn't make it wrong. The questions kept coming, but Principal Chen stepped forward. That's enough for now, she announced. Xavier needs to get back to his education. As the reporters started packing up their equipment, Xavier felt a mixture of relief and fear. The hardest part was over. He had told the world what he did and why he did it. But now came the really hard part, living with the consequences. His phone was already buzzing with text messages. Social media notifications were piling up. The story was spreading around the world. Elon put his arm around Xavier's shoulders as they walked back toward the school. How do you feel? His father asked. Scared, Xavier admitted. But also, good. Good. Like, I finally did something that really mattered. As they reached the school doors, Xavier turned back to look at the reporters still filming their wrap-up segments. News vans were driving away, but more were arriving to replace them. This was bigger than he had ever imagined. But as his phone buzzed with a text from Marcus saying, "Thank you," Xavier knew he would do it all again. The real work was just beginning. Xavier and his father walked back into the school building. The hallways felt different now, quieter. Students stared at Xavier as he passed, but no one said anything. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Text messages, email notifications, social media alerts. The story was spreading faster than he could have imagined. "We need to go somewhere private," Elon said. "This is going to get much bigger very quickly." They went back to Principal Chen's office. Ms. Rodriguez was waiting for them with a laptop open. "You need to see this," she said, turning the screen toward them. The video of Xavier's press conference was already on YouTube. It had 50,000 views and was climbing fast. Comments poured in from around the world. "This kid is a hero." "Rich. People should do more of this. He's just looking for attention. I wish I was brave enough to do something like this." Xavier read the comments with a mixture of pride and worry. People had strong opinions about what he did. "It's not just YouTube," Ms. Rodriguez continued. "Twitter is exploding. TikTok videos are going viral. Sir Young Equity Project is trending worldwide." Elon looked at his son. "Are you ready for this?" Before Xavier could answer, Principal Chen burst through the door. "We have a problem," she said breathlessly. "The phone hasn't stopped ringing. News stations from around the world want interviews. The school board is having an emergency meeting, and there are more reporters arriving every minute." She paused to catch her breath. "But that's not the biggest problem." "What's the biggest problem?" Elon asked. "Other kids are starting to copy what Xavier did." Xavier's eyes went wide. "What do you mean?" Principal Chen showed them her phone. "A girl in New York just announced she's giving away her college fund to homeless shelters. A boy in Texas sold his car to buy food for families at his school. 3 kids in Seattle are pooling their money to pay medical bills for classmates." "That's good, right?" Xavier said hopefully. "It's wonderful," Ms. Rodriguez agreed. "But some of these kids don't have the same legal protections you do. They're taking money without permission. They're getting in serious trouble." Xavier felt his stomach drop. He hadn't thought about other kids copying him. He hadn't thought about them getting in trouble because of his example. "We need to make a statement," Elon said. "We need to tell kids to talk to their parents first." "It might be too late," Principal Chen said. "This is moving too fast." Xavier's phone rang. The caller ID said, "Mom." His heart sank. His mother had been in meetings all morning. She probably just saw the news. "Hi, Mom," he answered quietly. "Xavier." "Musk, what have you done?" His mother's voice was loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. "I can explain. You gave away $3 million without telling us? Are you out of your mind?" "Mom, please, let me." "I'm coming to the school. Right now. Don't move. Don't talk to any more reporters. Don't do anything else crazy." The phone went silent. Xavier looked at his father. "She's really mad," he said. "She has every right to be," Elon replied. "You scared us, Xavier. This isn't just about the money, it's about trust." Before Xavier could respond, Ms. Rodriguez's laptop chimed with a new notification. "Oh no," she said, staring at the screen. "What now?" Principal Chen asked. "There's a live stream. Someone is broadcasting live from downtown Los Angeles. They're at one of the homeless encampments Xavier donated to." She turned the laptop so everyone could see. A young reporter was standing in front of a row of tents under a freeway overpass. "I'm here with Maria Santos, whose family received help from the Young Equity Project," the reporter was saying. The camera panned to show a woman holding a baby. Xavier recognized her. She was the woman he had talked to that day he asked his driver to stop the car. "Mrs. Santos, can you tell us about the help you received?" "A young man gave us money for food and to help us find an apartment," Maria said. "He didn't ask for anything back. He just wanted to help." "Do you know that young man was Xavier Musk, son of billionaire Elon Musk?" Maria's eyes went wide. "The boy who gave us money was Elon Musk's son?" "Yes. What do you want to say to him?" Maria looked directly into the camera. Tears started running down her face. "Thank you," she said simply. "My baby has food because of you. We have a place to sleep because of you. You saved our lives." Xavier felt his own eyes filling with tears. He had helped this family, but he had almost forgotten about them in all the chaos. The reporter continued interviewing people at the encampment. Story after story of families who had been helped by Xavier's donations. An old man who could afford his heart medication now. A teenager who could stay in school because his family didn't have to move again. A mother who could feed her 3 children every night. "Turn it off," Elon said quietly. "Why?" Xavier asked. "Because you're crying, and we need to think clearly about what happens next." But Xavier couldn't stop watching. These were real people whose lives were better because of what he did. Not just numbers in a report or names on a donation list. Real families with real problems that real money had solved. "This is why I did it," he said. "This is exactly why." His phone buzzed with another text. This one was from Sophia. "My mom saw the news. She wanted me to tell you that my little brothers love their new clothes. Thank you for caring about us." Then another text from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Carlos from your school. My dad saw your press conference at work. He said you're the bravest kid he's ever heard of. Thank you for showing us that rich kids can care about poor kids too." More texts kept coming. Kids from school. Parents he had never met. People thanking him for proving that young people could make a difference. But there were other messages too. Angry ones. "You think you're better than everyone else. This is just a rich kid trying to look good. Your dad probably planned this whole thing for publicity." Xavier read the negative comments and felt sick. He hadn't done this for attention. He had done it because he couldn't stand watching people suffer when he had the power to help. "Don't read those," Ms. Rodriguez said gently. "Focus on the families you helped." "But what if people think I'm just showing off?" "Some people will think that no matter what you do," Elon said. "The question is, do you know why you did it?" "Yes." "Then that's what matters." A knock on the office door interrupted them. Principal Chen opened it to find Xavier's mother standing there. Her face was red. Her hands were shaking. "Where is he?" she demanded. Xavier stood up slowly. "Hi, Mom." His mother looked at him for a long moment. Then she walked over and hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. "Don't you ever scare me like that again," she whispered in his ear. "I'm sorry. I thought something terrible had happened to you. I thought you were hurt or kidnapped or worse. I'm okay." She pulled back to look at him. "Are you? Really?" Xavier thought about the question. Was he okay? The whole world was talking about him. Half the people thought he was a hero. Half thought he was an idiot. His family was upset. His school didn't know what to do with him. But Maria Santos had a place to live. Sophia's brothers had warm clothes. Marcus's family wouldn't lose their apartment. "Yeah," he said. "I think I am okay." His mother looked at Elon. "We need to talk. All of us. As a family." "Agreed," Elon said. "But first, we need to deal with the immediate crisis." "What crisis?" Ms. Rodriguez turned the laptop toward Xavier's. Mother. The live stream was still going. More families were sharing their stories. The crowd watching online had grown to over 1 million people. This is beautiful, Xavier's mother said after watching for a few minutes. But it's also dangerous. Why dangerous? Xavier asked. Because now everyone knows these families received help. Everyone knows where they live. Everyone knows they have money now. Xavier hadn't thought about that. He had accidentally put the families he helped in danger by making their stories public. We need to get security to these locations, Elon said immediately. We need to make sure these families are safe. And we need to figure out how to handle all the copycat kids, Principal Chen added, before someone gets seriously hurt. Xavier's phone rang again. This time it was Griffin. Dude, you're famous, his twin brother said. Everyone at school is talking about you. Some kids think you're crazy. Some think you're amazing. What do you think? Griffin was quiet for a moment. I think you're my brother. And I think you did something I never would have been brave enough to do. Are you mad at me for not telling you? Yeah, but I'm also proud of you. Xavier smiled for the first time since the press conference ended. Griffin, can you do me a favor? What? Can you help me figure out how to make sure other kids don't get in trouble for copying what I did? How? I don't know yet. But we need to find a way to help kids channel this energy safely. Okay. But Xavier? Yeah? Next time you decide to change the world, maybe give me a heads up first? Xavier laughed. Deal! As he hung up the phone, Xavier realized that his story was far from over. The press conference was just the beginning. Now came the real work of turning this moment into something lasting and meaningful. But first, they had to make sure no one got hurt because of what he started. The hardest part wasn't behind them after all. It was just beginning. Xavier's mother closed the laptop and turned to face the room. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. We're going home, she announced. Right now, all of us. Mom, I can't leave school, Xavier protested. I have classes. Your classes are the least of our problems right now, she interrupted. Have you seen what's happening outside? Principal Chen walked to the window and gasped. The crowd of reporters had tripled since the press conference. News trucks lined the entire street. Helicopters circled overhead like vultures. There are at least 50 news crews out there, Principal Chen said, and the crowd is getting bigger. That's why we need to leave, Xavier's mother said firmly. Before this gets completely out of control. Elon stood up. She's right. We need to get somewhere private where we can think clearly. But what about the other kids? Xavier asked. What about the ones who are copying what I did? What about the families who might be in danger because of the publicity? We'll handle all of that, Elon said. But we need to do it properly, with lawyers and security experts and people who know how to manage this kind of situation. Ms. Rodriguez packed up her laptop. I'll work with the other teachers to create some kind of educational framework for students who want to get involved safely. Thank you, Xavier said gratefully. That means a lot. What you did was brave, Xavier. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Principal Chen checked her phone. The school board is meeting in an hour. They want to discuss Xavier's status here. What does that mean? Xavier's mother asked. It means they're deciding whether to expel him or not. Xavier's stomach dropped. For helping people? For violating school policies, Principal Chen corrected. But Ms. Rodriguez and I will argue that this should be treated as an independent study project, not a disciplinary issue. Will it work? I hope so. You've brought more positive attention to this school in one day than we've had in years. Elon put his hand on Xavier's shoulder. Come on, let's go face this together." They walked through the school hallways toward the back exit. Students watched from doorways and windows. Some waved, some took pictures with their phones. Most just stared. Xavier had never felt so visible in his entire life. The back parking lot was slightly less crowded than the front, but there were still reporters waiting. As soon as they saw the Musk family, cameras started flashing and questions started flying. "Xavier, do you regret what you did? Elon, will you punish your son? How do you respond to critics who say this was just a publicity stunt?" Elon kept his arm around Xavier as they walked quickly to their car. He didn't answer any questions, neither did Xavier. But just before they got in the car, Xavier turned around. "I want to say one thing," he called out to the reporters. "Xavier, don't," his mother warned. "No, I need to say this." He stepped closer to the microphones that the reporters had quickly set up. "If you're a young person watching this, please don't do anything dangerous. Don't take money that isn't yours. Don't get yourself in legal trouble." The crowd quieted to listen. But also don't stop caring about people who need help. Find safe ways to make a difference. Talk to your parents. Talk to your teachers. Work together. "What about the kids who are already in trouble for copying you?" shouted a reporter. "I'm sorry," Xavier said simply. "I never meant for anyone to get hurt because of what I did. If I could take that back, I would." Elon gently pulled Xavier toward the car. "That's enough for now." As they drove away from the school, Xavier watched the news crews through the back window. Some were packing up. Others were setting up for live broadcasts. "Your phone," his mother said from the front seat. "What about it?" "Turn it off." "Right, now." "But what if—" "Turn it off, Xavier. You need a break from all of this." Reluctantly, Xavier powered down his phone. The silence felt strange after hours of constant buzzing and notifications. They drove through Los Angeles in quiet, past the homeless encampments Xavier had seen on the news, past the neighborhoods where some of the families he helped lived, past the downtown office buildings where his father worked. Everything looked the same as it always had, but Xavier felt completely different. "Where are we going?" he asked. "Home," his mother said. "To talk." When they arrived at the family's house in Bel Air, Griffin was waiting in the driveway. He ran to the car as soon as it stopped. "Dude, this is insane," Griffin said, hugging his twin brother. "You're all over the internet. Everyone at school is talking about you. Is that good or bad?" "Both. Some kids think you're a hero. Some think you're crazy. Most are just confused." They walked into the house together. The familiar surroundings felt comforting after the chaos of the day. "Sit down," their mother said, pointing to the living room couch. "All of you." Xavier sat next to Griffin. His parents sat across from them in matching chairs. For a moment, it looked like a normal family meeting, except nothing about this was normal. "Start from the beginning," their mother said. "I want to understand how this happened." So, Xavier told the whole story again, from the climate change project to his research about inequality, from his first small donations to the major ones that got him suspended, from his decision to call reporters to the press conference that morning. His parents listened without interrupting. Griffin asked questions when Xavier got to parts he hadn't heard before. "You've been planning this for months," their mother said when Xavier finished. "Yes. And you didn't think to include us in any of these plans." "I was afraid you'd say no." "Of course we would have said no," their father exploded. "You're 17 years old. You don't have the experience or knowledge to handle this kind of money responsibly." "But I did handle it responsibly," Xavier said quietly. "I researched every organization. I documented every donation. I made sure the money really helped people. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Elon stood up and started pacing around the room. The point is trust, Xavier. The point is communication. The point is that families make big decisions together. But you make big decisions all the time without asking us. That's different. I'm an adult. I have experience. I understand consequences. Do you? Because you didn't understand that your Tesla workers can't afford to buy the cars they build. You didn't understand that kids at my expensive school go hungry. You didn't understand that families are living in their cars 20 minutes from our house. Elon stopped pacing. That's not fair, isn't it? The room fell silent. Griffin looked back and forth between his father and brother like he was watching a tennis match. Finally, their mother spoke. You're both right. Xavier and Elon looked at her in surprise. Xavier, what you did was illegal and reckless. You broke trust with your family. You put yourself and others in danger. Xavier nodded, feeling ashamed. But Elon, our son, saw problems that we missed. He took action when we were just talking about problems. He reminded us that helping people isn't just about building companies or making speeches. She looked at both of them. Maybe we all need to do better. Elon sat back down heavily. I spend so much time thinking about saving humanity in the future that I forget about helping humans right now. That's what I was trying to tell you, Xavier said. I know, and I should have been listening better. Griffin raised his hand like he was in class. Can I say something? Everyone looked at him. I think Xavier did something amazing, but I also think he should have talked to us first. Not to ask permission, but to ask for help, making it even better. What do you mean? Xavier asked. I mean, imagine if Dad had helped you from the beginning. Imagine if the Musk Foundation had partnered with you. Imagine how much more you could have accomplished together. Xavier thought about that. It was true. With his father's experience and resources, they could have helped so many more families. Is it too late for that? Xavier asked hopefully. Elon looked at his son for a long moment. No, it's not too late. Really? Really? But we do this the right way from now on, with proper planning and legal oversight and family communication. And we include Griffin, Xavier added, and Mom. This should be a family project. Their mother smiled for the first time since the crisis began. I'd like that. So would I, Griffin said. But next time, let's maybe start with smaller amounts. Like way smaller amounts. Everyone laughed. It felt good to laugh after such a stressful day. There's still the immediate crisis to deal with, Elon said. The kids who copied you and got in trouble. The families who might be in danger because of the publicity. The legal questions about what you did. And the school board meeting, Xavier added. And the fact that the whole world is watching to see what we do next, their mother said. Xavier felt overwhelmed again. The problem seemed too big to solve. One step at a time, Elon said, seeming to read his son's mind. We'll figure this out, together. Promise? Promise. Xavier's mother handed him his phone. You can turn it back on now, but we screen everything together from now on. Xavier powered up his phone. Immediately, hundreds of notifications flooded the screen. Text messages, emails, social media alerts, missed calls. But the first one he read was from Marcus. Saw your interview. My parents want to invite your family over for dinner to say thank you properly. Xavier showed the message to his parents. I'd like that, his mother said softly. Me too, Elon said. Really? Really? It's time I met the people my son has been helping. As Xavier scrolled through more messages, he realized that most of them were positive. Kids wanting to volunteer, families sharing their stories, adults offering to help with the Young Equity Project. "Look at this," he said, showing his family a message from a teacher in Chicago. "She wants to start a program like this at her school." "And this one," Griffin said, reading over Xavier's shoulder. "A group of teenagers in London raised money for homeless shelters after watching your press conference." More messages kept coming in, from around the world. People inspired by Xavier's story. People wanting to help. "You started something big," Elon said quietly. "We all did," Xavier corrected. "We're all in this together now." Their mother stood up. "Well, if we're going to change the world, we might as well do it properly. Who wants to help me start making phone calls?" As his family gathered around to help manage the crisis Xavier had created, he felt something he hadn't felt all day. Hope. Maybe the hardest part really was just beginning. But they were going to face it together, and that made all the difference. Next morning, Xavier woke up to the sound of helicopters circling overhead. News crews had set up camp outside their house during the night. Through his bedroom window, he could see reporters with coffee cups waiting for any sign of the Musk family. His phone showed 847 missed calls and over 2,000 text messages. "Don't look at social media," Griffin warned from the other bed. "Trust me." "Is it bad?" "It's a lot. Some people love you. Some people hate you. Most people have very strong opinions about what you did." Xavier's mother knocked on their door. "Boys? Family meeting in 10 minutes." The kitchen table was covered with newspapers, headlines from around the world, all about Xavier's story. Teen gives away $3 million. Musk's son shocks, world with secret donations. Young philanthropist or reckless child? The $3 million question, right or wrong? Xavier's father looked tired. He had been on the phone with lawyers and accountants since 5 in the morning. "What's the damage?" Xavier asked nervously. "Legally, it's complicated," Elon said. "You had legal access to your trust fund money. The Tesla stock sales were technically legitimate. But there are questions about whether you understood what you were doing." "I understood." Proving that might be difficult, Xavier's mother set down a cup of coffee. "There's also the tax situation. Donations this large require specific paperwork. We need to file amended returns." "Will I go to jail?" "No," Elon said, firmly. "You're a minor, and you donated the money to legitimate charities. The worst case is financial penalties and restrictions on future access to your accounts." Griffin looked up from his cereal. "What about the kids who copied him?" "That's the bigger problem," their mother said sadly. 17 kids around the world have gotten in serious trouble trying to duplicate what Xavier did. Xavier's stomach dropped. What kind of trouble? A girl in New York took money from her parents' business account. A boy in Texas sold his father's car without permission. 3 kids in Seattle are facing theft charges. This is my fault. It's not your fault that other people made bad choices, Elon said. But it is our responsibility to help fix the situation. Their mother pulled out a tablet. That's why we're announcing the Young Equity Safety Program today. What's that? A way for kids to get involved safely. We're partnering with schools and community organizations. Kids can volunteer their time instead of risking money they don't have. Xavier felt some relief. That's good. We're also setting up a legal fund to help the kids who got in trouble, Elon added. And we're working with their families to resolve the situations. How much will that cost? It doesn't matter. These kids were inspired by your example. It's our responsibility to help them." Griffin raised his hand. "What about school? Is Xavier expelled?" "The school board met last night," their mother said. "Principal Chen and Ms. Rodriguez argued that this should be treated as an educational opportunity, not a punishment. And you're suspended for 3 days for violating computer policies. But they're creating an independent study program around the Young Equity Project. If you complete it successfully, the suspension gets removed from your record." Xavier felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. "So I can go back to school? Eventually. But first, we need to deal with the immediate crisis." As if on cue, Xavier's phone rang. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize. "Don't answer it," his father said. "We're screening all calls through our publicist now." "What if it's important?" "Everything seems important right now. But most of it can wait." Their mother looked at a list she had been making. Today's priorities. First, we hold a family press conference to announce the safety program and legal fund. Second, we visit some of the families you helped to make sure they're okay. Third, we start planning the long-term structure of the Young Equity Project. "A family press conference?" Xavier asked nervously. "All of us together, showing that we're united, showing that we're taking responsibility. What if I say something wrong?" "You won't. We'll practice first." Elon stood up. "The most important thing is that we're honest. We admit mistakes, we show what we've learned, and we demonstrate that this family cares about helping people. Even if people criticize us, especially if people criticize us. Criticism means people are paying attention, and attention can be turned into action." Xavier's phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Reporters came to our apartment last night. My mom was scared. Can you help?" Xavier showed the message to his parents. "This is exactly what we were worried about," his mother said. "The families you helped are now targets for media attention. We need to get security to all of them," Elon said immediately. "And we need to give them media training so they know how to handle reporters." "How many families are we talking about?" Griffin asked. Xavier pulled out his donation records. 47 individual families, plus the organizations that help hundreds more. "That's a lot of people to protect. That's a lot of people whose lives are better because of your brother," their mother said firmly. The doorbell rang. Through the window, they could see it was a delivery truck, not a reporter. "I'll get it," Elon said. He came back carrying a huge box. "Fan mail," he announced. "Fan mail?" "Letters from kids around the world." The delivery driver said, "There are 5 more boxes coming." Griffin opened the box and pulled out a handful of letters. "Look at this one," he said, reading aloud. "Dear Xavier, I'm 12 years old, and I live in Ohio. My family doesn't have much money, but after watching your story, I decided to give my birthday money to our local food bank. It was only $50, but the lady there said it would buy meals for 10 families. Thank you for showing me that kids can help people too. Your friend, Emma." Xavier felt tears in his eyes. She gave away her birthday money. "Here's another one," Griffin continued. "This one's from a high school in Japan. The whole school raised money to help earthquake victims after hearing about your project." More letters kept coming out of the box. Kids from every continent. Stories of volunteer work, fundraising events, small donations made safely with parent permission. "You didn't just give away money," their mother said softly. "You started a movement." "A movement of kids helping other kids," Elon added. "That's pretty remarkable." Xavier read through several letters himself. Each one made him feel proud and overwhelmed at the same time. How do we respond to all of these? he asked. "We don't," Griffin said. "We set up a system, a website where kids can share their stories and connect with each other. A way to channel all this energy into organized action." Their mother looked impressed. "That's a very good idea. I have my moments," Griffin said with a grin. Elon checked his watch. "We need to start preparing for the press conference. It's scheduled for 2 o'clock. What am I supposed to say? The truth. That you saw problems and tried to solve them. That you made mistakes in how you did it. That you're working with your family to do better going forward. And that other kids should talk to their parents before doing anything dramatic." Their mother added, "What if reporters ask hard questions?" "They will, but we'll face them together." Xavier spent the next 3 hours practicing answers to potential questions. His family helped him think through responses that were honest but careful. At 1:30, they got dressed in matching blue shirts and walked outside together. The crowd of reporters had grown even larger overnight. As they approached the microphones, set up in their driveway, Xavier felt his heart racing again. But this time, his whole family was beside him. "Remember," his father whispered, "we're in this together." Xavier nodded and stepped up to the microphones. "Thank you for coming." He began. "Yesterday, I told you about the money I gave away. Today, I want to tell you about what we're going to do next." The crowd quieted to listen. "First, I want to apologize to the kids around the world who got in trouble trying to copy what I did. That was never my intention. My family is setting up a legal fund to help you, and we're working on programs so other kids can help people safely." Cameras flashed as Xavier spoke. "Second, I want to thank the families who shared their stories. You helped show the world that real people are struggling, and that help makes a real difference." He paused to look at his family standing beside him. "Third, I want to announce that this is now a family project. The Young Equity Project will be run by all of us together. We're going to do this the right way, with proper planning and legal oversight." A reporter shouted, "Do you regret what you did?" Xavier thought carefully before answering. "I regret the way I did it. I should have talked to my family first. But I don't regret helping people who needed help." "What would you do differently?" "I would ask for help instead of trying to do everything alone. I would plan better. I would think through all the consequences." Another reporter called out, "What's your message to other young people?" Xavier looked directly into the cameras. "Don't wait for permission to care about people, but do ask for help. Talk to your parents. Talk to your teachers. Find safe ways to make a difference. And remember," Griffin added, stepping up to the microphones, "you don't need millions of dollars to help someone. Sometimes the most important thing is just showing that you care." The questions continued for 20 more minutes, but, with his family beside him, Xavier felt confident and calm. As the press conference ended and the reporters started packing up, Xavier realized something important. The scary part wasn't facing the consequences of what he did. The scary part had been doing it alone. Now that his family was with him, everything felt possible, even changing the world. 1 week later, Xavier stood in the parking lot of the Downtown Women's Center in Los Angeles. This was one of the first places he had donated money to. Now he was here with his whole family to see how it was being used. The building looked old but clean. A sign by the front door said, "Welcome," in 5 different languages. Women and children walked in and out, carrying bags and holding hands. "Are you nervous?" Griffin asked. "Yeah. What if they're angry that I brought all this attention to them?" "What if they're grateful?" their mother suggested. Inside, they met Director Carmen Rodriguez. She was Sophia's aunt, though Xavier hadn't known that when he made the donation. Xavier, she said, shaking his hand warmly, thank you for coming, and thank you for what you did. Did it really help? Come see for yourself. She led them through the building. The shelter had new beds, a renovated kitchen, and a computer lab where women could look for jobs. Your donation let us house 20 more families, Carmen explained. Families who would have been sleeping in their cars or on the street. They stopped at a classroom where children were doing homework. A little girl with pigtails looked up and waved. That's Maria, Carmen said. Her family came here 2 months ago after losing their apartment. Now her mother has a job, and they're moving into their own place next week. Xavier felt a warm feeling in his chest. This little girl had a home because of what he did. But the best part, Carmen continued, is what happened after your story went public. What do you mean? Donations poured in from everywhere. Not just money, people wanted to volunteer. High school students started tutoring programs. College kids organized clothing drives. Local businesses began offering job training. They walked into a room where teenagers were teaching computer skills to mothers. In another room, volunteers were sorting donated clothes. You didn't just give us money, Carmen said. You gave us a community of helpers. Griffin nudged Xavier. See? You started something bigger than you thought. Their next stop was the Los Angeles Food Bank. The warehouse was huge, filled with pallets of canned goods, fresh vegetables, and frozen meals. Manager David Kim met them at the entrance. The Musk family, welcome. How are things going? Elon asked. Better than ever. Xavier's donation helped us expand our mobile food truck program. We can now reach neighborhoods that never had access to food assistance before. He led them to a loading dock where volunteers were packing boxes. But just like at the Women's Center, the real impact came from the publicity. After Xavier's story aired, we got over 500 new volunteer applications in 1 week. Xavier watched teenagers and adults working side by side, filling boxes with food for families. These volunteers have helped us distribute twice as much food as we normally do, David continued. Xavier, you didn't just give money. You gave people a reason to care. A volunteer with gray hair approached them. Are you the young man who started all this? Yes, ma'am. I'm Helen. I've been volunteering here for 3 years, but after I saw your interview on TV, I convinced my whole book club to join me. Now, 12 ladies come here every Saturday. She pointed to a group of women laughing as they sorted vegetables. We never would have thought to volunteer if you hadn't shown us how much need there is. Thank you for opening our eyes. As they drove to their next stop, Xavier's mother turned around from the front seat. How do you feel about seeing the impact firsthand? Good, really good, but also kind of overwhelmed. Why overwhelmed? Because there's still so much more to do. We helped hundreds of families, but there are thousands more who need help. Elon glanced at him in the rearview mirror. That's the point, Xavier. You can't solve everything at once, but you can start something that grows bigger than yourself. Their final stop was Marcus's apartment building. Xavier had been nervous about this visit all week. Marcus met them in the lobby. He looked different somehow, more confident, less worried. Hey, Xavier, thanks for coming. How are things? Better? Way better. Come on, I'll show you. They took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was cleaner than Xavier remembered. Fresh paint covered old graffiti. New lighting made everything brighter. The landlord fixed up the building after your story aired, Marcus explained. Too many reporters were coming around asking questions about living conditions. He didn't want bad publicity. They reached Marcus's apartment. His father answered the door wearing a security guard uniform. Mr. Musk, Please, come in." The apartment was small but tidy. Family photos covered one wall. The smell of home-cooked food filled the air. "I got a new job," Marcus's father explained proudly. "Better hours, better pay." The company that hired me said they saw the interview where Xavier mentioned our family. They wanted to help. Marcus's mother came out of the kitchen wiping her hands on a towel. "I made tamales," she announced. "It's not much, but we wanted to thank you properly." They sat around the small dining table eating and talking. Marcus's little sister drew pictures for Griffin. His baby brother slept peacefully in a carrier. "Before Xavier helped us, I was working 3 jobs and we still couldn't pay all our bills," Marcus's father said. "I was gone 16 hours a day. I barely saw my children. Now I'm home for dinner every night," he continued, his eyes getting watery. "My kids remember what I look like," Marcus grinned. "And I don't have to eat peanut butter sandwiches for lunch anymore." "What's your favorite food now?" Griffin asked. "Everything, but especially my mom's tamales." As they prepared to leave, Marcus walked Xavier to the hallway. "Can I tell you something?" Marcus asked quietly. "Sure. I was really mad at you before." Xavier's stomach dropped. "Mad at me? Why?" "Because you had everything, and I had nothing. Because your family never had to worry about money while mine always did. Because life seemed so easy for you." "Oh. But then you gave away all that money to help people like me. And I realized you weren't the enemy. Inequality was the enemy. And you were trying to fight it." Marcus stuck out his hand. "Friends?" Xavier shook it gratefully. "Friends." On the drive home, the family was quiet for a while. Everyone was processing what they had seen and heard. "Those visits were important," their mother said finally. "Why?" Xavier asked. "Because it's easy to give money and walk away. It's harder to see the real impact. To meet the people whose lives are different because of what you did." "It makes it more real," Griffin added. "And more responsibility," Elon said. "When you see how much good can come from helping people, you realize you have to keep doing it." "Is that how you felt when you started Tesla and SpaceX?" "Partly. But I was focused on big, long-term problems. Climate change, making humans a space-traveling species. You focused on immediate human suffering. People who needed help right now. Are both approaches important? Yes. We need people working on big future problems and people working on today's problems. The best solution is probably doing both." When they got home, there were 3 more boxes of fan mail waiting. Xavier's story continued to inspire kids around the world. But there was also an official-looking envelope addressed to the family. Elon opened it and read quickly. His expression was serious. "What is it?" their mother asked. "It's from the Internal Revenue Service. They want to audit all of Xavier's donations to make sure everything was done legally." Xavier felt his stomach flip. "Am I in trouble?" "Probably not. But we'll need to provide documentation for everything. Every donation, every receipt, every bank transfer." "I kept all of that. I know. That's going to save us. But it's still going to be a long process." Griffin looked worried. "What if they find problems? Then we'll fix them. The important thing is that Xavier had good intentions and kept good records." That evening, Xavier sat in his room looking through the latest batch of fan mail. Letters from kids in Australia organizing beach cleanups. Photos from teenagers in Canada who started a clothing drive for homeless shelters. Stories from students in Mexico who were tutoring younger children for free. His phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "My mom got promoted at work. Her boss saw the interview where you mentioned our family. He said anyone who raised such a caring daughter must be a good worker. Thank you for changing our lives. Another text came from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Emma from Ohio. Remember, I wrote you a letter? I wanted to tell you that my $50 birthday donation inspired my whole class to raise money for the food bank. We raised $800. Thanks for showing us that kids can make a difference." Griffin knocked on the door and came in. "How are you doing with all this?" he asked. "It's a lot, but good, I think. Do you regret it? Any of it?" Xavier thought carefully. "I regret not talking to you and Mom and Dad first. I regret that other kids got in trouble. I regret that some families got unwanted attention from reporters. But I don't regret helping people. And I don't regret starting something that's bigger than just me now. What's next? Tomorrow, we start building the real Young Equity Project, with proper structure and legal oversight, and ways for kids everywhere to get involved safely. Are you ready?" Xavier looked out his window at the lights of Los Angeles stretching into the distance. Somewhere out there, families were sleeping in warm beds because of money he donated. Kids were eating dinner because of food banks he supported. Women were finding jobs because of programs he helped fund. But more importantly, thousands of other young people were now volunteering and donating, and caring about problems they hadn't noticed before. "Yeah," he said. "I think I'm ready. The hardest part, acting alone and facing the consequences, was over. Now came the really exciting part. Working with his family and kids around the world to build something that could help people for years to come." Xavier Musk, 17 years, old and no longer afraid, was ready to change the world the right way. Together. 6 months later, Xavier walked into the conference room at the Musk Foundation offices in Austin, Texas. The room was filled with people he never could have imagined working with when this all started. Carmen Rodriguez from the Downtown Women's Center sat next to Dr. Sarah Kim, a child psychologist who specialized in youth philanthropy. Marcus Chen was there with his laptop, taking notes as the newest teen advisor to the foundation. Sofia Rodriguez sat across from Ms. Rodriguez, Xavier's teacher who had become the education director for the Young Equity Project. And at the head of the table sat his father, looking more excited about a meeting than Xavier had seen in years. "Welcome to our 6-month review," Elon announced. "Let's start with the numbers." Griffin pulled up a presentation on the big screen. He had become the project's data manager, tracking everything with the precision of a future engineer. Since Xavier's story went viral, the Young Equity Project has helped over 12,000 families directly, Griffin began. But the indirect impact is much bigger. The screen showed a world map with dots of light spreading across every continent. We now have active programs in 47 countries. Over 200 schools have started their own equity projects. Nearly 50,000 young people have volunteered through our safety programs. Xavier stared at the map. Each dot represented kids like him who decided to help instead of just complaining about problems. "What about the legal situation?" asked Dr. Kim. "Resolved," Elon said with relief. "The IRS audit found no wrongdoing. Xavier's donations were legitimate, even if his methods were unconventional. The penalties were minimal." "And the kids who got in trouble copying Xavier?" Carmen asked. "All 17 cases have been resolved," Xavier's mother said, joining the meeting via video call from Los Angeles. "Our legal fund helped every family. Most charges were dropped when the kids agreed to do community service." Marcus raised his hand. "I talked to 3 of those kids last week. They're all involved in safe volunteer programs now. They said getting in trouble was actually the best thing that happened to them because it led them to better ways to help people." Xavier felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For months, he had worried about those kids who copied him. Knowing they were okay and still helping others made everything feel worth it. "What about the sustainability question?" Ms. Rodriguez asked. "Can we keep this going long-term?" Elon smiled. "That's the best news. The project is now self-funding through donations from people inspired by the story. We don't need to rely on the Musk family money anymore." "Really? Really? Companies want to sponsor our programs. Other wealthy families want to start their own chapters. The movement has taken on a life of its own." Sophia pulled out a folder thick with papers. "I brought letters from kids who started projects in their communities. Want to hear some?" "Please," Xavier said. "This one's from a 15-year-old in Kenya who organized clean water projects for rural villages. This one's from twins in Brazil who started a program teaching computer skills to kids in favelas. This one's from a girl in Norway who convinced her government to fund free school lunches for everyone." With each letter, Xavier felt more amazed. These kids weren't just copying what he did. They were finding their own ways to solve problems they cared about. "The most interesting development," Dr. Kim added, "is that we're seeing changes in how young people think about wealth and responsibility. Studies show that teenagers from wealthy families are now more likely to consider careers in social work, education, and public service." "Because of Xavier's story?" Griffin asked. "Partly, but also because the conversation about inequality has become normal for their generation. They're growing up expecting to use their advantages to help others." Xavier's father leaned forward. "That might be the most important outcome of all. Changing the culture so that helping others becomes automatic, not exceptional." Marcus looked up from his notes. "Can I say something personal?" Everyone nodded. "Before Xavier helped my family, I thought rich people didn't care about poor people. I thought they lived in a completely different world and never thought about us." He paused, looking directly at Xavier. "I was angry about that. Really angry. But Xavier showed me that some rich kids do care. And more importantly, he showed me that I could make a difference too, even without money." "What do you mean?" Carmen asked. "I started tutoring younger kids at my school. I organized clothing drives. I volunteer at the food bank every weekend. I realized that helping people isn't just about having money. It's about using whatever you have to make things better." Xavier felt tears in his eyes. Marcus had become one of his best friends over the past 6 months. Hearing that his story had inspired Marcus to help others meant more than any news coverage or award. "That's the real success story," Ms. Rodriguez said. "Kids from all economic backgrounds are finding ways to help each other." Griffin clicked to the next slide. "Speaking of success stories, we need to talk about what's next." The screen showed plans for the Young Equity Project's expansion. Summer camps where kids could learn about social issues and volunteer safely. Partnerships with schools to make community service a graduation requirement. A scholarship program for students who showed leadership in helping others. "This is bigger than any of us imagined," Xavier said quietly. "Are you okay with that?" his father asked. "Yeah. Actually, I think it's perfect. The best ideas are the ones that grow beyond the person who started them." Dr. Kim smiled. "That's a very mature perspective. How has this experience changed you?" "Personally?" Xavier thought about the question. 6 months ago, he was just a frustrated teenager who couldn't stand seeing inequality. Now he was speaking at conferences, advising other young philanthropists, and working with his family to build something lasting. "I've learned that caring about people isn't enough," he said. "You have to turn caring into action, but you also have to be smart about how you take action. And I've learned that working alone is harder and less effective than working with other people," he continued. "The best part of this whole experience has been seeing what we can accomplish as a family and as a community. Sophia raised her hand. What would you tell your past self? The Xavier from 6 months ago who was planning to give away the money secretly? Xavier laughed. I'd tell him to talk to his family first. I'd tell him that asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. Would you tell him not to do it? No. I'd tell him to do it better. With more planning, more support, and more thought about consequences. Any regrets? Carmen asked. I regret the stress I caused my family. I regret that other kids got in trouble, but I don't regret helping people. And I don't regret starting this conversation about inequality. Elon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Austin stretched out in all directions. Somewhere in the city, families were being helped by programs that started with Xavier's impulsive decision to give away his trust fund. You know what I've learned from all this? Elon said, turning back to the group. What? Xavier asked. I've learned that sometimes the next generation sees problems more clearly than the previous generation. I spent years thinking about how to help humanity in the future. Xavier reminded me to help humans right now. And I've learned that the most important innovations aren't always technological. Sometimes they're social. Sometimes they're about changing how people think and act. Griffin clicked to the final slide. It showed a photo from last month's volunteer event at the Downtown Women's Center. Xavier, Griffin, Marcus, Sophia, and dozens of other teenagers were serving dinner to families. Everyone was smiling. This is what success looks like, Griffin said. Not just the money we've raised or the families we've helped, but the community we've built. Xavier stared at the photo. 6 months ago, he felt alone with his concerns about inequality. Now he was surrounded by people who shared those concerns and were working together to address them. What's the plan for the next 6 months? Marcus asked. Keep growing, Xavier's mother said from the video screen, but carefully. We want to maintain the quality and safety of our programs. And keep learning, Ms. Rodriguez added. We're still figuring out the best ways to channel youth energy into sustainable change. Most importantly, Dr. Kim said, we want to keep inspiring young people to see themselves as capable of solving problems, not just complaining about them. As the meeting ended and people started gathering their things, Xavier felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Not because of what he had accomplished alone, but because of what they were all accomplishing together. His phone buzzed with a text from a number he didn't recognize. Hi, Xavier. My name is Ashley, and I'm 14. I saw your story on TV and started a project helping elderly people in my neighborhood with grocery shopping and technology. Thank you for showing me that age doesn't matter when it comes to helping people. Xavier showed the text to his father. Still, inspiring kids around the world, Elon observed. We all are. That's the point. As they walked out of the conference room together, Xavier realized that the question wasn't whether his suspension from school 6 months ago was worth it. The question was whether they could keep building on what started that day. Looking at his family, his friends, and all the people committed to the Young Equity Project, Xavier knew the answer. They weren't just changing individual lives anymore. They were changing how an entire generation thought about responsibility, community, and using advantages to help others. Xavier Musk had given away almost $3 million on impulse. But working with others, he had created something worth far more than money. A movement of young people who believed they could make the world better, and who had the tools and support to actually do it. The boy who got suspended for shocking. The world had become a young man who was changing it, and he was just getting started. What started as one boy's shocking decision to give away $2.8 million became a global movement that inspired millions of young people to make a difference in their communities. Xavier learned that the most important thing isn't having money. It's having the courage to care about others and the wisdom to ask for help when you want to make change happen. Before you go, I'm curious, where are you listening from today? Drop a comment and let me know what city or country you're in. I love hearing from viewers all around the world. If this story inspired you or made you think differently about helping others, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes help more people discover these meaningful stories. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories about young people who are changing the world. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Xavier's remind us that age doesn't matter when it comes to making a difference. By sharing his story, you're helping to spread kindness and awareness about the power we all have to help others. Who knows? Maybe Xavier's story will inspire someone you know to find their own way to make the world a little bit better. Thanks for listening. And remember, you're never too young to change the world. See you in the next story.